What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 ways that wide receivers can run more explosive routes and create more separation. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it teaches you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to improve your speed, your explosiveness, your balance, your power, check out that very first link in the description below for a 16-week wide receiver gym workout plan. So this is a 4-month-long daily training schedule. We give you rest days, we give you leg strengthening days, explosive days, speed workouts, the works. Everything's broken down with sets, reps, and examples of each exercise that you do not know. So check out that very first link below if you're interested in our 4-month-long wide receiver gym workout plan. Let's get started. So now, first route we're looking at is from Amari Cooper, and he's doing something called a dive release. So when you want to run explosive routes, a big thing is you have to commit to your cuts. So that kind of like forces you, like how many of you have heard the expression before, you want to be sudden with your feet? Like when you shoot that foot in the ground, you want to be sudden. What does that exactly mean? That means that you have to commit to the cut. So it helps with selling it, but it also helps with you being more explosive. So this is something we call a dive release, right? I'm sure some of you have heard me talk about this. Some of you have heard me break this down, but a dive release is like 2 hard steps crossing this DB's face. We like it when it's in head up press to try to get him to bite on like a drag route, right? Try to get him to open up his hips. He thinks it's a drag. We could slip back outside, run an out, run a corner, run a fade, whatever it might be. So when you do this, to help you make this explosive cut, and this goes for anything, you have to make sure that your hips and your shoulders are committed to the break and the foot gets you out of the cut. A lot of wide receivers lose explosion on this cut because when they dive to the inside, instead of cutting off of that and using that to push them out, they'll take their right shoulder and their right hip in this case and start to turn out of the break. You see it all the time. Guys will do it on like a post route, for example. If you're on the right side and you're running a post route, you're obviously cutting off your right foot, but their left shoulder and their left hip will start to turn before that foot even gets down. You have to commit to it based on until the last possible second, then you can shoot outside. So that's why everything's so important. You run it off of steps. He goes here, takes a little prep step with his front foot, and it's 2 hard steps. Hips and shoulders are committed. That forces you to have to put that foot in the ground suddenly, and that will give you more explosion and help you run more explosive routes. So make sure, fellas, every break that you do, we are committing my upper body to it, and make sure, obviously, we are running hard. Let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great example here from Amari Cooper, working that dive release to get separation and to win on that out route. So now, second thing that's going to help you run more explosive routes is your foot strike. So this is an example of Allen Robinson doing kind of like a split release on the goal line, then running a fade. The announcer here said that this is a foot fire release. This is not a foot fire release. That is not what it is. It is kind of like a split release where he's making a miss with his upper half, where he's kind of freezing the DB, then leaving him. But it's very twitchy. So let's play this full speed. So how does he get to this? How does he get to that point where he's got that quickness, that explosiveness off the line? So when he does this split, I want you to watch where his feet are, right? Watch how when he strikes, the feet are inside of his frame, and look where his feet are. Middle arch of the foot. That is the balance position that we want to get to. Anytime that you guys want quickness with your release, you got to make sure that we are not striking on my tippy toes, because there is no explosion off of your tippy toes. What I like to think about is I equate it to like a baseball pitcher, for example. When you're pitching off of the mound in baseball, for my baseball guys, you know this, you're pushing off of that rubber, right? They got the rubber, you got the pitcher's mound, they got the rubber right here, then you got home plate. Pitchers are pushing off of that with that mound with their foot. That's how you want to think of your cuts. Pitchers don't push off the mound with their heel, because they'd be falling backwards. Pitchers don't push off the mound with their toes because they're not going to have as much power. Same thing with a wide receiver on a cut. When you guys strike the ground, you want to make sure that we are popping those cleats in the grass. Those cleats are shooting into the grass, and it's the middle arch of the foot. Because when you're in the middle arch of your foot, you're in a balanced position. You're not stepping too wide. Your knees not caving inward. You're just in an explosive spot to where we could generate power. We could generate explosion and push. When you can push off of your cuts and you could accelerate, that's going to get you a lot more speed, a lot more explosion off that line. So make sure, fellas, we are striking that ground middle arch of the foot for more explosion. Let's play this full speed. Great job by Robinson hitting that crossover and then winning on that fade route. Very explosive release there. So now we're going to be looking at this router from Marvin Harrison Jr. And I really like the way this guy runs routes. I've actually had a chance to talk to him before, and He watched a lot of the stuff that we put out, and I'm really excited to see him having a lot of success this year. And I want to showcase this like kind of open field crossover because it shows that your first step on any kind of crossover release is something that can get you a lot of explosion and help you sell the route also. So let's play this full speed. So he's coming up to this DB and he hits him with this open field crossover. This is not a rocker step. A rocker step would be more in stride. This is more like a crossover fake, something you would do off the line. Let's play it again, full speed one more time. So he comes up, sudden first step, and then pushes off of that first step into the second step. This kind of ties into you guys having an explosive first step being on that middle arch of your foot. So when you guys do this type of cut, you have to make sure that your first step is inside of your frame. So if I'm doing a crossover move, right? Like let's say for example, it's like press coverage and I'm trying to hit like a DB who's in head up coverage and I'm trying to give him a fake to the outside, right? I'm trying to get him to bite to the outside. I'm trying to slip back underneath. Or in this specific scenario, he's closing the space with the DB and he has to use this crossover. It's the same exact thing. It's the same exact mechanics. We know that the step that matters the most is the second step because that's the step that sells. What he's trying to do here, what Harrison's trying to sell is he's trying to sell a fade route. He's trying to sell like, okay, I'm going to attack this guy. I'm going to give him a move, and then I'm just going to burst to the fade. So you have to actually get some explosion, get some not so much acceleration, but you have to sell like you're actually running the fade. So when he shoots his first step into the ground, you see how he's not over-exaggerating it. I see this a lot of times with receivers when they do this crossover is that they'll over-exaggerate the first step, and this first step, instead of being here underneath his frame, will be way out here. They reach with the first step, but when that foot is outside of your frame and it is here, you can't push off of it. But when that foot is inside of your frame, you got a little bit of a knee bend, you can push off of that foot and allow you to step actually wide with the second step. This second step is the step that needs to almost be outside of this DB's frame. Now, when you push off of that foot, some of you might be thinking, well, if I step this wide, wouldn't I not have any explosion out of it? Because we just said, if your first step is wide, then you won't have any explosion. It's going to be slow if you don't bring your body with it. But because you're able to push off of that step, because it's inside of your frame, you can do something we call throwing your hip. And that is how you get a lot of explosion on your releases, a lot of explosions on your cuts. So he pushes off of this and that hip is attached to the foot. Because that first step was sudden, that first step was inside his frame, and it allows us to do that. It allows us to throw my hip, step wide, still have a knee bend, and be able to drive off of that cut. So make sure, fellas, to get that explosion, your first step on your crossover needs to be inside of your frame. That first step on the crossover, yes, it's got to be quick. Yes, maybe you could give a little head and shoulder fake inside, but it's got to have some balance. It's got to be in a powerful position so you could sell the step that matters the most. Make sure we're throwing the hip because that's where the DB is watching as well. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Harrison. And again, like I said, this is not a rocker step. This is an open field crossover. So we just have to know the difference. A rocker step would be the same mechanics. It would be the exact same type of thing where you put your foot in the ground and you give an outside fake, but it would be more in stride. So like this is like he's coming up, giving some tempo, then he hits the crossover and runs a slant. A rocker step would be more so like you're pushing up to a post, 1, 2, then you run the post. So it's like it's the same mechanics, same idea, just two different moves, two different scenarios. Let's play this one more time. Great job by Harrison being patient with that release and then giving that inside foot inside his frame, being able to throw that hip and getting that DB to jump to the outside. Great job winning on that specific slant route. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you'd like a 4-month-long wide receiver gym workout plan, probably over 400 exercises that you guys can do for speed, explosion, your grip. We give you conditioning workouts, rest days, obviously. So check out that very first link below if you're interested, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.